something that can be useful if a participant were to come up after the training and say, "This is wonderful," and I'm not quite sure how it can be implemented, or maybe I don't feel it can be supported, is I would turn that into a little bit of an inquiry session first. I would find out what they mean by that. Right? I have a lot of assumptions I can make, but I'll put that on my shoulder, keep it as a hypothesis, and inquire. It could be that they don't know where to go. And that's an easy one, right? Here's who you report to specifically, an HR to do this. They may have a leader that they don't feel safe with. Okay, here's someone else, maybe above them or parallel to them, that you could go to grab some assistance there. It could be that they don't know what to say or do, and that's your job right there as the facilitator to help them out with everything that they're learning in the workshop. However, I find sometimes when there really is not a way forward, that modeling again can be really helpful. I just got this material. I now am having it integrate into me. I'm going to show up differently. Maybe I don't have as much power. Maybe I'm more of a frontline employee. But maybe if I treat my fellow peers differently and we start to treat each other differently, that's going to be noticed. We can't always rely on upper management to make the bigger changes. Of course, we hope that it comes from there, but sometimes it has to actually start on the more frontline level, and it has to be something on a peer-to-peer level that this is the type of culture we want to have. We want to encourage this, and to hold that accountability at the peer level first, and at some points maybe even upwardly lead if that feels appropriate or safe. I know I have had to do that in times, teaching my leaders how to be better leaders, because the support was not necessarily intrinsically there. So just keep doing your personal best, influencing those around you to do their personal best, and hopefully support will come along the way when it gets noticed that that's a preferable way to walk into work. Absolutely.
I often feel that when people come up and say, I don't know that I can do this in this organization, what people are really saying is, I don't know that when something happens, that the value of speaking up is rewarded by HR or by
Mm.
leadership. And so I feel uncomfortable reacting or responding to something somebody else did because it's a risk to them and to kind of their place in the organization and to their livelihood. This makes sense to me. So I think when people feel that way and they feel like I just can't do it in this organization, the spin on it is to say, is there a way where you can proactively do things that are different, that are not reacting to other people, but just things that we would say are good for teams, which are good for culture, which then might eventually get you closer to this place where you can speak up and be an upstander. And I'll just give some examples of kind of what some of those things could look like. You've got a new person on the team who's showing up to the meetings, and never speaks. So how do you work with them to help their voice get heard, their ideas get heard, even though they only have 1 month of experience, to make sure that kind of they're able to contribute? So an additional piece is like, can you ask questions in a way where you're pushing your learning, but also, like Tony said earlier, like modeling something, you're modeling this vulnerability. So creating this place where you're saying to other people, hey, if you don't know something, it's okay to kind of acknowledge that and to get to a place where you are learning and to see the reactions of everybody else on the team, which hopefully will be positive. Can you make it great for somebody else to offer their idea and feel supported? Or, to give you a very specific example, Tony mentioned something in a meeting, nobody picks up on it. Catherine mentions the exact same thing 3 minutes later and picks up on it. And what do? You say, Catherine, I love how you're piggybacking on the idea that Tony brought up 3 minutes ago. So you're doing these things to make people feel like they belong, to make people feel like they can learn, to make people feel like they can contribute. And I think these might be the prerequisites to actually getting to the place where you and your team might be more comfortable responding when actually there is a deficit behavior that pops up.